if it doesn't have simon. Or you undo the plugs of everything, the gas and so forth, they can't cook and do anything. Now, I had, we're going to have to continue next week, Machlekes between Beis Yosef and I'm very strong one about Eish Be'eish and how much do we have to get involved by cooking. I just want to mention there was a shaila this week what I had from someone who went to his Shver Shviga, and they're not from, they're not kosher. But for the daughter and son-in-law, when the kids come, they have locked up a certain place of their kalim and their dishes. We know when they come, they open up that, and that's what they use, and then later they see it. Help me, the person calls me, that he has a sister-in-law who's also from. And the sister-in-law said that since that the father-in-law and mother-in-law went and cooked, and they're fried, they cooked something for the Eine Klach, so therefore she'd have to kasha all the kalim because it's bishalakim, because they're not from. And when the father-in-law and mother-in-law heard that, you understand, helped, huh?
They were happy.
They were very happy. So, uns Alaman, there is Achreinim today, Heinrich Achreinim Paskin, that someone who's not from today, because they're Tinnik Shenishba, they don't know what Shabbos is, they don't know what Yom Tov is, Yiddishkeit, so they're not considered a mummer, they're considered Tinnik Shenishba, and if they cook, we don't let them cook. But if they cook, they started to cook, you try to stir the fire, do something. But if they did, you can be mekel and say that it's not Bishul Akum, because there's no shaila of chasnas, because this guy married his daughter, and another from Yid married the other daughter, so there's no shaila of chasnas. The only shaila is, so there's no Bishul Akum. Bishul Akum is because of chasnas. Are you going to say that in their mumma the Shabbos, since they're Taneka Shenishbun, they don't understand what Shabbos is, so it's not considered a mumma? But you have to know what they cooked is kosher. Because if they don't know what kosher is, and they are not so particular, so therefore they could use an oil, which is not kosher, to cook the stuff for them. So if you know that everything was cooked kosher, so b'di'evet, I'm not saying l'katchila to let them cook. If they did it, don't scream at them and shout on them and turn over the whole house, and then that won't help the kiruv of what the father-in-law and mother-in-law are bending their backwards and for their children, their grandchildren, to buy kosher and to make everything kosher. You're not helping it. And halachically, it's not a din, but yeah, it's not a din of bishalakim. Why? Because they're to make a shenishma, and there's no shayla of chasnas. He married his daughter. I mean, yeah. Anyways.
Only lessons like this also we see from
Halachos but you have to make sure that what they cooked, they didn't mix in anything. Because over here you can be very afraid that they're going to use something which is not kosher because they don't know.
Today you have many people that keep a kosher kitchen, but they're not Shomer Shabbos. So is that a different?
Again, I would say again we could say that Shabbos they don't understand how strong Shabbos is, so forth, and so forth. It's the same idea. The biggest problem what we have is.
Because we can't trust them to keep kosher.
There is a problem on that. I told you have to make sure that they rely on their kashrus. But again, I said that said it 4 times. Now the problem over here is that if you have someone who went through the system and then later became fry, and he has his shit to why he became fry, so then these fellas are worse than the people who never went to yeshiva and so forth, or they remember the grandfather, the father was from, but they went away, because over there could be a shaila of a mumma. And then, and their cooking could be even worse than a person who never had a Yiddish education. That's what you have to be afraid of. But again, if you know that it was bought kosher and you know where they buy everything, but the question is, do they understand why every ingredient has to be kosher? And that's where the problem is, because even they didn't learn very well kosher. They buy kosher meat, they buy this, and they don't cook milk and meat, and they have separate dishes. But
How can you
there's
trust
many,
people
many
who buy one
other
piece?
things, many other things, what they don't
They
know
tell you, you can.
about kashrus.
You're not Shomer Shabbos, you can't trust
But
them.
if it's not a
It
mumma,
doesn't make a difference, but not even for Bishul, you know, kosher.
All right, we're going to continue next week.
That's why you can't go to the store and have not Shomer Shabbos. You can't trust them.
that's something else.
Why?
Israel.
Make a difference. There's no
Robert,
name.
Right here.
Huh?
I didn't.
Two of us.
We dive in 5 times and we're all right.
Huh?
If we dive in 5 times, we'll be all right. 2 of us.
There could be a piece of golf. Because the fish brought in.